Hey guys, so I just watched the Terrifier 2, which is obviously a sequel to the Terrifier, which came out in 2017. This, just a quick background, the Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2 are both, I think they were kickstarted, or at least they were the indie films, passion projects by the director Damien Leone, or Leon, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so the first one came out in 2017, which was a sort of like a bit of a cult classic, incredibly violent, very memorable thumbnail. You've got the, I'll put it on screen, very, very memorable. And then it was announced that the Terrifier 2 was in production, and it's been hotly anticipated for a while. It's finally come out, and I want to talk about it. So, there's going to be some spoilers in this, but I'll try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. So, just a warning, this film is incredibly violent. If you're not into extreme gore and just very explicit images, then you're probably not going to be wanting to see this film. Anyway, so basically the premise of this film is that Art the Clown has risen from the dead, like he did at the end of the first one, and how he's on a we don't really know what he's up to. He's just out to kill people. He's not got really any particular rhyme or reason, but he targets a chick called, can't remember her name, but she's played by the actress, bear with me, Lauren Lavera, who's fantastic in this film, and her brother. So he's out to kill them for some reason, we're not quite sure why. This film has some of the most ridiculous, explicit gore in any film that I've seen, and Art the Clown is so sadistic that it's so violent that it's funny. He's got such a he's got such a strong personality, even though he doesn't speak. He's basically a mime, and he's got so much expression on his face. The actor who plays him is called David Howard Thornton. He's stunning, like he's just fucking stunning actor. Like the amount of like expression, nuance he brings to the character is just, it's next level. It's hilarious. It's frightening. He's a horror classic now. Like the character Art the Clown is up there with Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael Myers, all of those ones. So, for example, there's a scene. I'm not going to show footage of this because it is quite explicit, and I don't think it'll get through the YouTube algorithm particularly well. But this is a typical. So the film literally starts with someone getting their face smashed in with a hammer, and that sounds awful. I know it does sound awful, but it's so over the top that it's funny, because it's like, oh my god, really, they're doing that? Like, holy shit! Like most other movies would cut away, but this shows it. Like he literally smashes the guy's face and rips his eyeball out and then sticks it in his own eye socket, which is it sounds disgusting. It's actually hilarious. And I'd say a lot of people, like, I think this is the part where you're either going to be like, this is not for me, or you're like, okay, let's see where this is going. It's sort of like the equivalent of like almost like when you're a kid. If you ever played like Grand Theft Auto and like Vice City, say, and you shoot someone's head off and all the blood comes out, and it's just like, it's so over the top that it's kind of funny because it's so stupid. It's like hyper real. That's kind of what this is like. Like there's another scene. So these are kind of early on, so I'm not spoiling too much. But there's a scene where Art goes into this this teenager's house, and he proceeds to basically start to murder her, and she's got all these cuts and gashes on her body, and then he leaves, and then she's trying to get to the phone, and then he runs back in and he pours bleach and rubs salt in her wounds, and that is, I know that sounds horrible, but it's so over the top. It's like, oh my god, are you serious? Like, that is the most like sadistic thing, but it's like they take everything to like the next level, and it's like, you're just like, wow, like this is so unbelievable. It's funny, you know what I mean? But really good film, and they do a lot with this film of like kind of advancing the lore of the Terrifier. So you kind of get a like the film's 2 hours 10 minutes. It's quite long, especially for a horror film. But they so one of the criticisms I think of the first film was that I did love the first film, but the story was particularly almost non-existent. The characters weren't developed particularly well, and the acting was pretty so-so. In this, the acting's definitely levels above the first film, and there's more effort to flesh out the characters, so or his murder victims, which I think is actually really well done. Like I think the final girl is a really great actress. She's got a cool costume, and when she gets to fight Art at the end, not a spoiler, everyone knows the final girl has to take down the villain. It's really well done, and it's very satisfying. I'll leave it at that. But yes, there's a lot of sort of lore that gets built upon of like maybe what is he exactly, where does he come from. In saying that, you don't really get there's some stuff that's set up early on that doesn't quite have a payoff, and I think they're going to do that in the third film. But there's a lot of I saw another review saying there's a lot of stuff. There were questions from the first film that aren't really answered, but now you've got more questions, and it's kind of true, but it's still satisfying. Like for instance, there's a plot line with the main character's family, and her dad is not in the picture. He's dead, and he had these like visions and dreams, and he's got this sketchbook, and for some reason in his sketchbook is literally a picture of Art the Clown. And we don't really get answers to what that is. Just that's a spoiler, but it doesn't really get answered in this. But it's still quite fascinating and makes you want to, see the next film. There's also this is very early on, so I wouldn't call it a spoiler. But Art sees this little girl in a laundromat, which that's another great sequence actually. I won't spoil that one, but he goes to the laundromat. And there's a little girl who kind of looks like him, but she's like maybe 10-year-old girl who looks like him. Really creepy, like the rotten looking teeth and these really piercing eyes. And the black and white color scheme doesn't speak. But she's throughout the movie, and you never learn who she is or what she is. And it seems like only certain people can see her, which makes you go, is she real? Is she imaginary? Like, what's the deal with her? Yeah. Another thing would be this film for me, this isn't an issue. I loved every minute of this film, but there is an element of, there's a lot of scenes that feel a bit unnecessary. Like there's like a dream sequence that goes on for a while, and doesn't really need to be there. It's hilarious. Like I can't really explain. I can explain it. I don't want to spoil it. But there's this particular song that gets sung in this scene, and yeah. Anyway, super violent, super hilarious. But it is a dream sequence, and I don't know why it's there for. And it never really gets explained. It's sort of like there's an element of Freddy Krueger, and how he goes into nightmares. There's an element of that to this dream, and it's never explained. And saying that, there's also a scene near the end of the film. Wait for the credits, because there's a scene, and a famous wrestler makes an appearance in this scene, which is kind of funny, but doesn't get explained, and it's bizarre. Again, more questions, but it's definitely like just a fantastic film. Like if you love horror, if you don't mind it really explicit gore, or a film that's slightly too long, this is just a great film. Like it's a lot of fun, especially for Halloween. It's a great Halloween film. It's a good. It's not particularly scary. It's just really gory, and there's a lot of it's funny. It's a funny film because it's so gory. In saying that, Art is very much a a intimidating character. If he goes out to kill someone, he's going to kill them. It's definitely one of the best horror films I've seen. And yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing the character more. And you know what? If they made a third one and if it's 4 hours long, I'll watch it. You know, why not? You can never have too much Art the Clown. So another thing I want to sort of quickly touch upon is the fact that I think this may set a good precedence for like sort of, what would you say, smaller indie films tackling the horror genre. It might give them some kind of, what's the word? Maybe some inspiration, maybe some kind of like, or even studios to take a chance on smaller directors or certain visionaries in the, you know, creative industry to, you know, try some weird horror, try some real explicit stuff, you know, see what happens. Because I know a lot of films, like what was one of the last slasher films I saw? Halloween, which one was it? Halloween 2? The one, not Halloween Ends, the one up before that. The one where, what's his name? Michael Myers just kills a bunch of people at the end, and the one, Evil Dies Tonight. That was awful. That was awful. There was very little good about that film. This is leagues better. Like this is great. Highly recommend it. Check it out. But you know what? Definitely watch Terrifier 1 because Terrifier 1 is just as, or not. I think Terrifier 2 is better than Terrifier 1, but check out Terrifier 1. It's streaming. Hey, you know what? Torrent it. Torrent both. You've got to see it. They're fantastic. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below. You know what? Please subscribe. My subscriber count has really not gone up in a long time, and it's sad. It's really disappointing. So please subscribe and just comment below. Just comment if you watched the video. I don't know. Anyway, thank you, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.